there's a name in the NFL that's starting to gain traction as a possible traded player here in the offseason. A quarterback traded player here in the offseason. Some smoke now around Kyler Murray in the Arizona Cardinals on whether or not he will be dealt. You know, the news broke on Sunday from Adam Schefter on ESPN.com that the Dolphins and the Cardinals are two teams that want to trade their quarterbacks this offseason. So it's the Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa and then Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. And Adam Schefter on Sunday wrote this, that the Dolphins would like to explore trading Tua, ditto for the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. But it remains unclear whether a deal for either quarterback is feasible given the financial hurdles for an acquired team. And then Adam Schefter on ESPN.com went on to explain all the different financials that go into this. I talked to you earlier in the week about possible quarterbacks who could be the guy next season to replicate what Sam Darnold did with Seattle this season. Highly drafted quarterback, goes to a new team, and finds instant success. And that's Sam Darnold's done that now in two spots. Well, what's interesting about that is I mentioned to you the other day that to me, that's Kyler Murray. He's the guy that I could see it in the right situation, the right coaching, a good defense. I could see him having a season that Sam Darnold had this past year, winning the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. Well, now we are starting to get the smoke in the rumors out there that there is a team that would be interested, and then there's a player in Kyler Murray that would be interested in said team, and that being the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and I think that that's the one that makes the most sense, because when you say who could be the next Sam Darnold, well, you said he's done it in the last 2 years. Think about the teams that he's gone to. The Minnesota Vikings, where he was successful, except for the final game of the season, and then in the playoffs.
He was successful.
But he was successful,
right?
And then the Seahawks, where he was obviously the most successful because they just won the Super Bowl. But the reason he was successful with the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, quarterback whisperer, great defense. Brian Flores, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, should probably be a head coach if he didn't decide and sue the NFL a few years ago. Should probably be a head coach. He should be a head coach right now. And it's a shame that he's not. And then he goes to the Seahawks. The best defense in the NFL last season, only gave up 17 points a game. They were the number one defense in the NFL at yards allowed per game, points allowed per game, all that good stuff. We saw how suffocating that defense was in the Super Bowl. They've got a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Macdonald. It was great. That defense was phenomenal. That's why Sam Darnold is so good. He's a good quarterback. I'm not going to say great quarterback. Is he a top 10 quarterback? We're going to debate that throughout the offseason and where he ranks in the quarterback world. But the reason Sam Darnold was the most successful is because he went to teams that had great defenses where if he did screw up, he was supported and they could handle screw-ups. They could handle interceptions.
Well, they could handle an ineffective quarterback at times.
Exactly, at times.
Darnold was pretty effective.
He was good.
Yes, at times, he gives the football away.
He also went to San Francisco the year before as a backup and learned under Mike Shanahan and was there and learned and everything like that, and then came back and went to like I mentioned, O'Connell. And he seems to fix everybody. Daniel Jones was also in that building, and he was let go.
He had a good season last year.
A GM was fired because both those quarterbacks left. So if Kyler Murray is going to go, and I would just say any quarterback, insert quarterback here to be the next Sam Darnold, that is going to be the next guy, the next reclamation project, has to go to a team with a good defense. Because you can't just go to the Dolphins. You can't just flip-flop, and it can't just be Kyler Murray goes to the Dolphins and Tua goes to the Cardinals, and all of a sudden Kyler Murray just takes the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. They don't have a good enough defense.
No.
Now, if Kyler Murray goes to the Steelers, now...
That's a team that would be intriguing.
That's a team that's intriguing because they have they have a good defense. Minnesota has a great defense. That's intriguing. So if there's mutual interest there, whether he comes in and he takes the starting job right away from J.J. McCarthy, or there's a competition for the starting job with J.J. McCarthy. That's something that could be intriguing because that's an instant boost to that offense. He's someone that last year, obviously, there was an injury. He couldn't play most of the year. He only played in a handful of games. But when he's been healthy and bought in, Kyler Murray is very effective. And listen, you give anybody to Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell could turn you and me, I think, into a feasible quarterback with that defense.
Yeah, if I was standing on your shoulders.
Yeah, like we got to be.
If we were the two kids in the trench coat trying to buy beer at the local convenience shop, then sure.
If we learned anything from Super Bowl week last week in San Francisco, we're vertically challenged.
Yes, we are.
When it comes to playing in the NFL. That's the only thing holding us back.
Oh, right.
The only thing holding Bleck and Abdalla back from playing in the NFL
That's it.
Is our height.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. So on Sunday, that's what Adam Schefter reported, is that the Dolphins and the Cardinals would like to trade both Tua Tagovailoa and then Kyler Murray. Okay, so that's where we start. Today, there is news out of Minneapolis. So Score North reported yesterday that Kyler Murray has interest in becoming a Viking. All right, that's news. That's new than what we saw earlier in the week, which I think it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned Pittsburgh, but Minnesota, if they were able to land Kyler Murray, they are immediately back in the championship conversation for the Super Bowl for next season. That division, the NFC North, will be loaded. Really good division. And so I think Minnesota makes a lot of sense. And there was also reporting in the start of the offseason, after the Vikings were eliminated from the playoffs, from playoff contention, that they're not happy with J.J. McCarthy. So to either get someone to push McCarthy or to kind of go a different direction quickly, knowing that J.J. McCarthy might not be it, I could see that because I think O'Connell can get the most out of someone like Kyler Murray. I think there's a lot of potential there. So that's one aspect of it. So you have Score North in Minneapolis reporting that Kyler has interest. Mm-hmm. Also, yesterday on NFL Live, Field Yates connecting the dots of a team that would make a lot of sense to be a team to go after Kyler Murray and to land him. Mm-hmm. He talked about that yesterday on NFL Live.
You know, I think is the most intriguing Kyler Murray team. No information here. This is simply just
that's
like
what we're talking about.
I'm throwing at a team that I think would be fun and logical and would be interesting. Minnesota Vikings. I think it's obvious they're going to do something at quarterback this offseason in the veteran ranks, right? Whether that means a veteran who you bring in to play if things don't go well for J.J. McCarthy, or a guy to come in and challenge J.J. right away. But Kevin O'Connell, something of a quarterback connoisseur, a team that obviously is unsatisfied with what happened last year, right? They went into last year thinking they would compete for a Super Bowl. Yeah. They did not, obviously. They came up quite short. Yeah. But Kyler would give them some energy and some competition in a room and maybe bring out the best in J.J. McCarthy, because maybe there is something there that motivated Minnesota to trade up one spot and take him 10th.
So there you go. There's Field Yates yesterday on NFL Live connecting the dots that the Minnesota Vikings would be the best fit for Kyler Murray. So you've got reports out of Minneapolis from Score North saying that Kyler would have interest. You have Field Yates on TV yesterday saying that he thinks that would be the best landing spot for Kyler. And then earlier in the week, Adam Schefter letting everyone know that the Dolphins and the Cardinals want to move off of their quarterbacks. And that's where we set right now. And I think that with all of this pointing to that, I think at some point this offseason, we will see Kyler be traded to the Vikings.
I think so, too. And look, if you're Kyler, no offense to Mike LaFleur, but offense to Mike LaFleur, who was just hired as their head coach, who would you rather play for? Mike LaFleur or Kevin O'Connell?
Kevin O'Connell, because Kyler Murray is developed. He is who he is. This is Kyler Murray. Can he get better? Sure, he can get better. There's got to be some buy-in on his end. There's the perception is reality of the Call of Duty and whether he's bought in. But I think the Call of Duty of playing quarterback.
Well, I mean, whether he's bought in or whether he wants to sit at home and play Call of Duty or read his iPad or his Surface saying. Or whatever they use, whatever the NFL mandates that they use.
He
right?
wants to be a gamer.
Yes, right. So I think that when you take him to Minnesota, there could be a lot more buy-in from Kyler Murray when he would get to play alongside Justin Jefferson as his wide receiver and that defense, and you get Kevin O'Connell as your coach, who has turned Daniel Jones into the MVP conversation early last year, and we were saying that the Colts were going to go to the Super Bowl early last year. Listen. We as the NFL world. We as the NFL world. I'm using we as the royal we of the NFL world.
I'm raising my hand. That was not me.
I'm just saying we.
I said that the Colts were fake from the jump.
We in the NFL world, the NFL Live, who we just heard Field Yates from say, could Daniel Jones be the MVP? Could the Colts go to the Super Bowl? Whether you want to believe it or not, they were the best offensive team in the NFL for like the first 5-6 weeks of the season.
I was going to say you could go check the tapes, but I think they took those
they deleted
down.
Yeah, they deleted.
I think they erased the fact that we were there. So
burned
Bleck
those
Abdalla,
faster than our ID cards.
Yeah, we started here at Westwood One Sports on January the 4th. So we were talking football in the fall, and if you checked those tapes, which I believe have been deleted, they wiped us quickly, Abdalla. I did say in the season that I thought the Colts were fake and phony the entire time.
There's no proof of it.
I do think, you look at Kyler, his best season statistically was his second season. 2020, he played in 16 games. He only had a 67 completion percentage passing the football. He threw for 3,900 yards, but he had 26 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He took 27 sacks. 27 is not great, but it's not the worst in the league. And I think Kevin O'Connell can get better play out of Kyler than those stats. And that's when Kyler posted his best season as a Cardinal quarterback in year 2. And I think at that point, we all thought Kyler had the upward trajectory of being a top 10 quarterback. I did. Being that highly drafted and being a player that goes number 1 in the draft, to have that in his second season in the NFL, where in his rookie season, he threw for 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Like, I thought he would be one of those next it guys. Yeah. So I think Minnesota makes a lot of sense because I think they could get the most out of him.
I also think, too, you look back 2 years ago in 2024, Kyler ran for 570 yards. It was only 5 touchdowns, but if you give a coach like O'Connell that weapon back there, that's more than McCarthy's going to run for. You give him that kind of dual threat quarterback where it's not quite Lamar Jackson. It's not the real dual threat, but it's a guy that's going to use his legs when he needs to. And along with Justin Jefferson, who's arguably one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the league, and that defense, I think that is very lethal. And that's a team that still won 9 games last year. Like, they still won 9 games, and they could easily find a way. 2 more, they're in the playoffs. 2 more wins. And I think Kyler Murray's easily worth 2 or 3 more wins. And if it at least pushes J.J. McCarthy, which, let's be honest, if Kyler Murray goes to camp against J.J. McCarthy, he's winning. Like, he's winning that battle.
Yeah, I think that's logical
he's
to
winning.
say.
And I don't think that Kevin O'Connell would be hesitant to move on. Because
I also don't think it's going to be one of those false quarterback competition. Like, I feel like we've seen the Steelers do this a couple times in recent years before Aaron Rodgers got there, where they would get a cast-off quarterback who thinks he's a starter and have him compete against other guys who are backups. And then it's like this kind of messy training camp, figuring out the starter situation. We've seen former first-round picks kind of bounce around and expect to be the guy, and then they don't pan out being the guy. I think Jets fans listening to this conversation know exactly what I'm talking about with Justin Fields, where Kyler Murray, that's not the case. Kyler is far better, far superior of a quarterback than someone like Justin Fields. And so I think what would happen is you can maybe prop JJ up and make him feel better about himself that it's a quarterback competition, but Kyler's the man if the Vikings go out and trade for him.
Well, this is a top 3 defense in yards allowed per game, and they know that this is a window, because if you look at the drafts, when Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, their GM, was fired, right around the Super Bowl, and everybody was taken aback by that. But if you look at his drafts, they weren't very good. And so this is a team that might not have a lot of depth to it, and there's a window that could be closing, and they know they need to take advantage of a certain window here, and Kevin O'Connell's going to take advantage of it. And if that means bringing Kyler Murray in to win while they still have a chance here and move on from J.J. McCarthy, he might really like J.J. McCarthy, but this is the NFL, and it's a business, and if that window's closing, you got to take advantage of it, and if it's Kyler Murray, you just do it.